Stop it. You don't know when? It's not really when it's not. People are joining on, right? Yeah.
There we go. Leanne, is Councilman Farina attending tonight or no?
I don't believe he is.
I thought I saw a message. So I guess I'll be chairing the meeting. We have everyone in. Leanne, is Councilman Farina attending tonight or no?
I don't believe so. I had received an earlier email. Yes.
Yeah, I saw that as well. So I guess I'll share
I
the.
think there's a feedback coming through your
Is
machine.
anyone playing the tuba?
I don't know where that's coming from.
Is the YouTube link on?
It is on.
Oh.
I think it's the volume coming back through.
Councilman Papakis, what do you,
Let me see if it's mine. Is anyone playing the tuba?
I have the YouTube on, but I don't,
I think the volume might be on the YouTube and it's cycling back through on your microphone.
should I?
Can you turn the volume off on the YouTube?
I don't think mine.
No, the feedback stopped as soon as Leanne muted.
Yeah, I think it was Leanne's, there was reverberation from Leanne, I think.
I shut the mute, I made myself mute. Does that help?
Yes, that worked, Leanne, when you were on mute.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me, Leanne? Am I on?
Leanne, it's still going to be able to be listened through YouTube though, right? Even though you're muting on your
I
end?
can hear you,
Just
Mike.
making sure.
Okay, so I'm in good shape. Okay.
You're on.
Leanne, Rosanna, Rosalba, are you taking the role tonight anyway?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'd like to call the October 26th, 2020 meeting of the Cranston City Council to order. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yeah.
Councilmember Hopkins? Councilmember Vargas?
Present.
Councilmember Jermaine? Councilmember Donegan?
Present.
Councilmember Brady?
Present.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Present.
Council Vice President Fickiel?
Present. Madam Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So, public hearings and, let's see, is that where we have for our first on the agenda? It looks like we have public hearings and accommodations. I don't believe there are any. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
No, there aren't any.
I didn't see anything to confirm, approve the minutes of the last meeting. Is that on? I don't see it on the agenda. Is that supposed to be on there?
We usually don't list it on the docket.
Okay.
If my
Res-
count is correct.
Okay. And do we have public comment that will be coming in when we get to that? Okay. Councilman Hopkins is listening in, but is having trouble with audio. Just to report to the committee. So he is on, he's having some trouble with the audio. We will try to, I don't know how we're going to accommodate him, but Madam Clerk, can you resend him an invite? Would that help, or? Let's see if we can get him in. Okay, well, I guess we'll continue and hope that Councilman Hopkins can get the volume to work. First item under resolutions. We have a resolution urging the administration to enact an ordinance amending the zoning laws, expanding the authority of the planning office to approve infill zoning for parcels of land which conform to the character of the neighborhood outside the variance procedure. This was sponsored by myself, so I guess I'll have to turn over the chair to the vice chairman, or the next in command. Councilman Hopkins is not able to do it. Councilman Paplowskis, are you there?
Yes, Council Vice President.
I guess I could turn the gavel over to you temporarily.
All right. So this is the first agenda item.
This is a resolution, yes.
Okay, so under part 3, we have a resolution urging the administration to enact an ordinance amending the zoning laws and expanding the authority of the planning office to approve and fill zoning for parcels of land which conform to the character of the neighborhood outside the variance procedure, sponsored by Council Vice President Favicchio. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
The motion to
Second for
approve,
discussion.
and we have a second for discussion. Under comment, should we hear from the council first and do public comment? So council can go first.
If I may, if you want me to explain it,
Council Vice President, the floor is yours.
all right, thank you. Yeah, I know that the affordable housing is a big issue, big topic that we had, and I know that it's will continue to be, and that's great. My approach is more of a direct find solutions approach, and basically, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. This is one area that I've been exploring for most of the year, actually, in discussions with the planning department. They've just been so swamped with all the other myriad of things between the solar ordinance redo and all the other things that we've had on the calendar that they're just swamped with work. But this is something that I think is a partial solution for some of the affordable housing issues. If obviously we all see it even in Ward 6, but for the most part, most of the smaller parcels from Ward 6 right to Ward 1, there are a lot of parcels of land that got caught up in a time warp. I'll use that as the analogy. We changed the zoning to where you have a lot of A6. A6 is the smallest zone that we have. But yet there are many houses that are built on 4 and 5,000 square foot lots. So the parcels left over, and I think the planning could probably provide some numbers for us, are left in a conundrum because they can't be built on without getting either a dimensional variance or a zone variance, a frontage variance, and it creates a situation where it's very difficult to build on them. And the problem with that is those are probably the most affordable lots in the city, and some starter homes primarily could be built on them, and they are being done, but the process takes quite a bit of time, and it also opens itself up to objections and people for their own personal reasons objecting because they may have had a nice piece of vacant land next to them where they could plant a little garden over the line. They can throw some leaves on there, and they don't really want to see anyone develop it. But that type of zoning, and I think former Councilwoman McFarland mentioned it the last meeting, that those kind of parcels are perfect for some starter homes, some lower priced homes, and also the fact that they do not really burden the city, the infrastructure of the city. The roads are already in place, the schools are in place, the fire and police have to come down those streets anyway. We have to plow them and maintain them, but you're not flooding one area with 50 new houses and burdening the schools, and yet you're providing some affordable housing. So I think it's one little element that could be used, and I did it as a resolution because I know it's so late in this session that it probably is going to be difficult to get an ordinance done. Planning needs to really assist on this, but I think it's an area where, you know, there are parcels that are bigger than the house lots next to them, and yet they're not being built on because there's a lot of objection, or the cost of going through the process makes it cost prohibitive. So I think it's one area that could be used for that. I think we have, we have the resources in the city to do a number of things on housing, including the planning department, the housing authority. But I think this is a very direct and simple way of introducing some more affordable housing into the city.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Any other questions or comments from the committee before I ask for public comment? Councilmember Stichels.
Yeah. So what your resolution, it says enact an ordinance. Do you mean draft an ordinance?
Yeah, I'm asking the administration to, research it and try to draft an ordinance. I'm not sure if they would do it as an ordinance or as a change to the comp plan. I think it would be easier to do an ordinance. I think they have authority under state law to do some of the things without having to do like subdivisions, for example, administrative subdivisions. They have some authority to do it the way they want. They don't have to merge every lot with the adjoining house if they don't want to, or if the homeowner doesn't want to. There's always been an impetus at the state level to try to merge all these lots to adjoining lots, but the problem with that is that you're leaving this resource untouched. And they're really, I think it's a good source of land that isn't super expensive. Like if you go to Weston Cranston, you're not going to buy a vacant lot for, $30,000. It's going to cost over $100,000 or more in many cases. So it's cost prohibitive in certain areas of the city, but these are, I think they could draft an ordinance to do it. I'm just urging them to take that up. It may take a few months to get it done, but once you start utilizing it, I think you'd see some development happen fairly quickly.
have any developers approached you about this idea?
I've seen a lot of it in my work, and some of them do it. I mean, there are some that are able to get some of these approved, and they build houses on them. They may be smaller, they may, some of them can be fairly big, but you don't see monstrosities. I mean, you don't see, on a 5,000 square foot lot, 5,500 square foot lot, you're going to see an average home, an affordable home under RIMFAC guidelines. So it does go on. I'm just thinking there may be a way to streamline the process a little and create more growth in that area.
But my question is, any developers talk to you about this resolution and this idea?
I've talked to developers about the idea. I didn't ask anyone about the resolution. I did the resolution on my own, but yes, absolutely. There are people that would be interested in doing it. I don't think it's something where you'd have to really badger them to do it, to be honest. Sorry about that.
So
Yeah.
was this, did they approach you about this idea, or did they approach the planning department? I'm just trying to get a history of where this.
No, I've observed it, and I, discussed it with planning. I've mentioned it to planning, and they do think it's a good idea, because they're overworked as it is. So anything that can make the process, speed up the process, I think is a good thing, and make it, I'm not talking about, cramming in property, but it's where it fits the character of the neighborhood. So if you have an area where there's all 4,000 square foot parcels, and there's a house on each lot, and there's a couple of vacant pieces of land, to make them require them to need 6,000 square feet when everybody around them only has 4, seems like a detriment to the neighborhood, really. I mean, it's it's zoning. It's some property that could be utilized to an advantage in creating some starter homes and affordable homes. Houses are expensive today, but still, with the interest rates being low, people can afford a pretty good starter home. And I think that it's there, it's available. I definitely think you really wouldn't have to advertise it. I think it would be an attractive thing to developers, because it's the type of home you can build even on spec, rather than if you don't build $500,000 houses too often on speculation. You tend to have an idea who's going to buy it. But houses that fall within the affordable price range definitely are in demand, always in demand.
Chairman, can I have Director Pizzulo comment on the resolution?
Director Pizzulo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Councilman Favicchio, we have discussed this idea over the years, and it hasn't just been this year. The idea of infill development is something we see practically every day. Calls to the office. We entertain subdivisions with variances practically every single month. I think to your comment about the city being locked in time, is that when you're saying that everything was developed in the eastern part of the city prior to zoning, there are neighborhoods where the average lot sizes were 3,200 square feet, 4,000 square feet. And zoning was enacted in the 60s that said 6,000 is the minimum now. So basically everybody with record lots or, basically made everybody non-conforming, number one. And number two, it basically locked up a lot of the city for new development. And the only way to get around that is to go through the process of subdivision and zoning variances. So I think, Councilman, the issue is this is not going to be an ordinance per se. This is going to be a package of ordinances. This will be comprehensive plan amendments, all in the service of creating new moderately sized units and houses in parts of the city where they make sense. In addition to that, you know, the zones themselves are very out of date. They've never, the core of the zone has never been amended since the 60s. And we've seen that that's been an issue, you know, for decades. It's been an issue for decades. So if we're going to talk about moderately priced new housing and new housing units, they really have to be infill. And infill is the way to get units that are in the range of affordable to be built. And we've been in support of this idea for quite some time. And we talked about this issue a lot just a couple of weeks ago with the Affordable Housing Commission and whatnot. And this is certainly going to be one of the main discussion points, because this is not going to be an easy lift for the city, and it's not going to be an easy lift for the city council to make significant amendments to the zoning code, to the comprehensive plan, to really allow development in areas that you're changing the existing zonings that's been in existence since the 60s, back to what was basically platted in could have been the 20s or the 30s or the 40s. And it's about equity and it's about justice. And I think that, and it's about fairness to people to be able to build, you know, affordable range housing. Now, again, it's not to be confused with actual affordable housing, which has the subsidy attached to it, which has deed restrictions. That's another slice of the pie. This is one slice of the pie. So, you know, I look forward to bringing this to the council and having workshops and really discussing this. But this will be a heavy lift. This is not going to be easy, and I don't think anyone should think that we'll be able to make these kind of changes in a very quick fashion. So I just want to say, you know, it is late, that we do support it, and that, but there will be a lot to this.
Thank you, Director Pizzulo. Now, this is a resolution, it's non-binding, so, you know, nothing would change tonight if this did pass or not. Any other comment or questions from the committee before I open this up for public comment?
I had a quick question.
All right, Councilmember Vargas.
Thank you so much. Council, who's it? President, I guess, for the night? I'm not sure. Right. So I had a quick question. And this might be to either Director Pizzulo or Councilman Favicchio. So on there, I mean, it says, I think it's affordable housing, right? I'm all in favor of working. And again, it's a resolution. It's not an ordinance per se, but I think it's a great conversation starter, just like we had on the housing subject line last month as well. And it's just in urging the administration. There's a lot of steps that'll go with this. My question, I guess, is, so if this is a lot that's out there and we're encouraging for houses to be built upon that land so it can be part of affordable housing, is there any regulation, or would that be part of eventual down the line on an ordinance where can we set like the price? Like, how do we know, or how can we say that these houses are suddenly not going to be houses that are going to be selling way off the market price where a median household can't afford it, or family can't afford it? I guess I'm trying to figure out, I mean, do we have any type of control over that at all? Just because, again, it's not a subsidized housing or anything along those lines, but I'm just trying to kind of get a sense of purpose as to how can we say that the person in itself is going to buy that plot to make sure that there is an affordable single multifamily housing built?
Council President.
I can kind of answer that, Councilmember Vargas. I mean, you can't control prices on open market items like that. I don't think that's the goal. I mean, this is not I don't believe this would fall into the voucher system. That's something for, Director Coop might be able to answer that one. But it does, under the present market conditions, it would be considered affordable the prices may be higher than you think. However, when you look at the mortgage payments with the current interest rates, that $1,200 rental amount, $1,300 being an average 2-bedroom rent, you can get a mortgage. Your mortgage, taxes, and insurance might be $1,200 on a $300,000 house. So, it can be affordable in that respect. I've seen a lot of homes going in that range, and I think that a lot of people are taking advantage of it, and they're not the higher end wage earners. I think they're fairly moderate income people are able to afford that because the mortgages are the same as a rental price. But you can't. I don't believe you can control it. That's certainly not a free enterprise type of law. But there obviously you're going to have other things to deal with in terms of dealing with affordable housing. But this is just one area that could help over time, to create some more housing. And it would be in the, areas where we have smaller lots, basically. It would not be in at Brady's ward, for sure.
Can I just say something on that?
Yes.
It's also about supply and a lot of things that drive cost and increased cost is lack of supply. And not to say that you're going to produce so much housing that is going to drive down everybody's prices, but it's about housing choice, and it's about increasing housing choice and supply in the market. So, if this is Ocean Avenue, a 5,000 square foot lot, probably not going to be as affordable as something in the Auburn neighborhood or off of Cranston Street. It's also a matter of location in the size. It's not all like one size fits all. But again, these issues come up every single month, every single week, where somebody wants to do something and it makes sense with the surrounding neighborhood, but they just can't get there because zoning's not going to approve it, or they don't want to go through the process of subdivision and going to the zoning board. So again, it's a small slice of the overall affordable housing pie. So I don't think that we're talking infill is going to be then grounded in, the subsidies and the income eligibility requirements. This is more that increases supply and increases the units that are in the moderate range. So again, this is going to be a big lift just to get something like this accomplished.
Councilmember Donegan.
Thank you, Councilman Paplaskas. Councilman Ficchio, obviously, my hope to increase housing affordability and availability in the city, and I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on infill zoning, or obviously I'm not a planner. The only concern I have, or one of the biggest concern that I have, are the lines between 25 and 27. That a lot of these parcels lie in districts that contain affordable housing, and as we heard, are genuinely already pretty dense. My concern is that obviously this is a small piece of a larger solution to creating more affordability in the city of Cranston. But I am concerned that this could lead to concentration of affordable housing and a concentration of lower to moderate income families in certain parts of the city, whereas I think the goal should be to see a disbursement of economic diversity throughout the city. So that's the biggest concern I have with this. I just don't want to see I guess what I would say is a greater concentration, because I think there already is a concentration of poverty in certain parts of the city, and I just don't want to see that continue. And I guess I have concerns, albeit Again, I'm not an expert on this, but what might accelerate that even greater.
Thank you, Councilmember Donegan. Any other questions or comments from the committee before I entertain public comment? There being none, Leanne, I see Pauline DeRosa's hand up. Can we invite her into the meeting? Mr. Rosa, the floor is yours under public comment. Just think you need to unmute.
I'm sorry.
I can hear you.
Thank you.
Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, Pauline DeRosa, 97 Cypress Drive. Good evening, council members. I would like to address Council Vice President Favicchio's resolution this evening. I do agree with Councilman Donegan about the concentration of low-income properties into some of the lower-income neighborhoods already. I do have some questions. Is there going to be any external oversight or input in addition to the planning department in choosing which parcels might be up for selection and the potential zone change? Will you be targeting parcels that might be located in lower income neighborhoods or parcels close to railways or highways? And who chooses what type of housing is going to be suitable for these vacant parcels? And since most of these vacant parcels would be potentially located in densely populated areas, will there be community meetings or input prior to any development taking place? And I believe also that there may be environmental impacts that would have to be considered as well. So I think this resolution is packed with more questions than there are answers right now. And I understand that there will have to be further discussion on it, but those are my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, any other questions or comments from the committee?
Just one more.
Council Vice President.
Yeah, just, and it's nice to hear Pauline's voice again. I haven't talked to her in a while. Yeah, I mean, but see, that's precisely the problem. I mean, if you have a neighborhood and there's only 2 or 3 lots that are vacant and everything else is built, I don't know how you can say that there's a tremendous impact of putting one house on one street, one new house on one street, one new house on another street, when the whole area is built up and has similar size homes, similar size lots. You know, and we can't just, it would be very difficult to do that in Ward 4 where you have R80 zones. I mean, how do you know, what do you do with an R40 zone or where you have at least, you know, you have half acre, 1 acre, 2 acre parcels, and we require that much land to put a house on. You know, that's a problem. So, but I think that part of the issue is you can't control the house any more than you do now. The planning and the building department has to approve any house that goes in. It has to meet all the setbacks, has to meet all the requirements that every other house in that neighborhood has. And the building code is far more strict today than it was when a lot of those homes were built. So I don't think I think it's quite a bit of work for the planning board, but I think the end result could be to have at least a little more supply. I don't think we're going to be flooding the market with houses. So I don't think it's a bad thing to attempt to accomplish in the next 4 or 5 months, 6 months, whatever it may take. It's going to take quite a bit of time, I think.
Okay, thank you, Council Vice President. Any other questions or comments?
I'll just,
I just had a quick. Sorry, go ahead.
no, Councilman, I already spoke. If you want to go first, I'll wait until you've spoken.
Thank you.
Councilmember
I
Vargas.
appreciate it. Thank you. I just had a quick question. this is a resolution, right, where it's actually encouraging the mayor to put some sort of, or the administration in general, to put a plan in place. So if this was to pass today, is that for the current mayor, or is this to be in effect where it would be encouraging the mayor in January to work with the planning committee? And in general, if this was to pass though, does this mean that the planning office will be working on an ordinance on something along those lines?
I could answer the question. I don't know. I don't think it forces them to do anything. I mean, I'm asking them to do it basically, and it may take 6 months. Who knows? That's why it's kind of a suggestion for the next session, Councilmember Vargas. Maybe to help. I know you very much involved in the affordable housing issue, and this is just one small area that I think may be helpful. And I'm just going to ask that they take a look at it in the next session, probably.
Thank you. I'm not clear exactly. That's why again, I don't, every day every meeting is a learning curve for me, just to understand and make sure that that I'm understanding this correctly and what the outcome could potentially be. So I wasn't sure. So if this was to pass again, it would still have to be an ordinance where it would have to be put together where public input will still be allowed, right? Obviously,
Well,
I would assume.
That's why I did it as a resolution, asking the administration, this one or the next one, to research it thoroughly and put forth whatever ordinances are necessary. I didn't do it in the form of an ordinance, as we've been doing quite a bit lately, and then trying to do all of the work that's required behind it. This will take work. There's no question. So I'm just asking that they do it. If they don't want to do it, or the next council doesn't want to do it, they can just ignore it. But I just thought I'd bring up the issue before my time is done.
Thank you. Can I add just one last thing? I'm sorry, Chairman.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. I'm going to vote for this evening, just because, it's obviously a topic that has been discussed throughout the country, the state, obviously here within the city as well. I think it's a good thing to start exploring and having these type of conversations. And the reason why I was asking is just, I think anything obviously should have public input, which is my reason of asking. I understand it's a resolution, it's not an ordinance, but again, I'm just trying to make sure that I understand what would happen if, if a resolution like this was to pass. And I look forward to working on issues such as this one, where it would impact housing throughout neighborhoods. I do want to echo what Councilman Donegan did say, as far as making sure that when we talk about affordability within the city, that ideally it would be great to make sure that there's, if we possibly can, I know sometimes there's a little bit of limited control that we have on the council side on that, but it could be dispersed throughout the entire, city, and not just a particular area where we're pretty much condensed already. Our schools are a little bit condensed already, particularly in these areas as well, which is another concern. But for the time being, I will definitely vote for this resolution this evening, and hopefully we can have a conversation and continue the conversation on housing. As I know, there is other housing ordinance that's come before us that will be heard at some point. So thank you.
Thank you, council member. Any other discussion? Councilmember Donegan, did you have something?
Yeah. I guess I'm, I recognize that it's just, not that it's just a resolution, but it's not an ordinance. So it's, we're not voting to enact changes to zoning code tonight. I guess I would want further kind of data on the impact that this would have on certain parts of the city, because not on the entire city, and where we could potentially see further development. Because like I said, for many of the points that I brought up earlier, I feel that there's been a lot of development in Ward 3, and denser housing is fine to a limit, but anecdotally, there was a vacant plot at the end of Farmington and Farmington Avenue, and Councilman Stikos and I really the credit goes to Councilman Stikos, worked with the owner, and a little parcel of where I believe a sewer line was transferred to the city, and now the city has this tiny little pocket park at the end of Farmington Ave that is a little bit of green space that people can go and bring their dog, play catch, sit under a tree. There's not a ton of spaces like that, and obviously that's one of the nicer little parcels that I'm afraid we could lose. But I'm concerned about how this would impact different parts of of the city, and that it might disproportionately, create like I said, create a larger and greater concentration of poverty, or lower income families in certain parts of the city. So because I don't have that information, I feel like I'm going to vote against this tonight. But if this comes before us in the form of an ordinance with that data, I'd be happy to consider it.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Brady, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to say, Councilman Favicchio, obviously, as you're coming here to the end of your 10 years on the council, I thoroughly appreciate your advocacy for many different causes. Seeing this might be one of your last resolutions, potentially your last resolution that you're putting in. I always appreciate that you vested, every discussion point that we came in. I appreciate that the administration is on the call and obviously giving their recommendation for this resolution. So I will be fully in support of it. And I also wanted to let you know that I truly appreciate your advocacy for the city of Cranston.
Thank you, Councilman.
Councilmember Stikos.
Well, first, I think I have an amendment to the resolution, which I think is the intention of the resolution, but a couple of words were goofed up. On line 32, shouldn't it read, "The Honorable City Council of Cranston requests," adding the word requests the administration to devise a plan to amend exiting laws? Isn't it existing laws?
Correct. You're correct, Councilman.
Okay, so I would make a quick amendment on line 32 to add the word requests between Cranston and "the," and change the word exiting to existing.
Okay, we have an amendment. Do we have a second?
I'll second it
Under discussion on the amendment. There being none, clerk, please take the roll on the amendment.
Councilmember Stikos?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
I don't think Councilman Hopkins is on.
Councilman Hopkins and Councilwoman Jermaine are somehow having trouble logging on. They can watch it, they just can't speak.
Can they raise their hand?
No, I don't see them at all, and I instructed them to try to call in.
If they can call in on the phone number, that would be great.
Yeah.
Councilmember Donegan?
On the amendment, yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes, sorry.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio?
Yes.
Hey, Councilmember Stikos, you still have the floor.
Thank you. I'm a little bit torn on this resolution. I think it sounds like a good idea to look at this, and I think it's the kind of thing that the planning department should do. Unfortunately, the record of the planning department has been that lawyers for developers write ordinances, and then the planning department kind of fronts for them. And we saw that in the solar many years ago, and we saw that more recently in the ordinance that was proposed that had to do with variances, dimensional variances. So I guess I'm going to vote for this, but I would really ask the planning department. I think developers' opinions should be considered. And I think, but it should be done like every other member of the public has to do. If they have something to add, there should be a hearing and they should stand up and speak and give everyone the benefit of their opinion. It should not be done secretly in your office with Mr. Bolton or Mr. Murray, and then the council has to kind of drag it out of the planning department where these ideas came from. If they have ideas that are good, they should propose them in a public setting where other people can react to them and support them or oppose them. And I really hope that the planning department takes that kind of process and not a process where, people get, I don't know if they get to the mayor or how it all works, but it's not been public and it should be.
Councilman, nothing's been secret. I believe the planning department revealed that Mr. Murray created that last ordinance. So I don't know what the secret part is that you're speaking of.
Well, the secret part is that came only after I really asked hard questions of the planning department. It was not the original explanation. The original explanation was, well, I don't want to go into that. We all know what it was. But let's have an open forum. And if these ideas are so good, let's hear them in an open forum, not in a private meeting.
Oh, I agree. I think that's the role of the planning commission. It's a role of the committee meetings and it's a role of the council. So I think Jason Buzzulo was here at every meeting to answer questions and give his opinions. And I don't think the administration has hidden anything whatsoever. I think we're very transparent.
Well, that didn't happen on the solar resolution. I mean, just ordinances.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Stichels. I see public comments over, but I'll allow Attorney Murray to speak. I see his hand up. There are no objections. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Just very quickly, and I just privately sent Councilman Stichels an email. He may not have the benefit of reading. I want to underscore, I had nothing to do with this resolution. I learned about it when I saw it on the docket. I don't appreciate the suggestion that somehow this resolution came forward with some nefarious suggestion. I disclosed at the time of the last, the dimensional variance ordinance, that I did assist in drafting it and asked the mayor to introduce it. It was not just for the Cranston Country Club. It had a more general purpose, but I don't appreciate some type of slight on me that I had nothing to do with this resolution you're discussing right now. And that's all I want to be clear. Thank you.
Councilmember Stichels.
I'd like to respond to that. I didn't say anything about this resolution. I said about the solar resolutions. And I didn't want, my point is that, Bob, if you have good points, they ought to be expressed in a public forum where they can be bounced around. And what happened on the most recent ordinance was that you went in and worked with the planning department to draft an ordinance. I think you drafted the ordinance. And that's what happened on how we got big solar plants and changes in the comprehensive plan was Mr. Bolton went in. And all I'm saying is that instead of quietly going in and getting to the mayor so that you can get what you want, you ought to state it at a public meeting and it can be discussed. And that didn't happen on either one of those. It only happened that we know that is that I asked you about it. You didn't stand up and say, I wrote this ordinance and I got the planning department to support it. That happened only because I asked the question. So what I'm saying is, let's have it all out in the open so that nobody has to ask a question. We know where the ideas came from and they've been vetted.
Thank you,
Councilman,
Councilmember
no one gets to the mayor. We have a
I'm-
discussion, people meet with the mayor, we have a discussion, no one gets to the mayor. And
All right, we
it
need to
sounds
stay.
underhanded.
Thank you, Director Perlo and Councilman Stichels and Attorney Murray. We need to stay on topic on the resolution that is before us, so we can be here all night talking about, whatever. But let's stay on topic. Anything else on the resolution that's before us, and then I'll say my piece on it. Any other discussion from the council members? There being none, I'm going to echo Councilmember Brady's comments and thank Councilmember Favicchio for putting this in. You've been here 10 years. This might be your last resolution. Along with Councilmember Stichels, thank you for your 10 years as well. I will be voting for this tonight. I think this, this is non-binding. It's just a resolution, but it gives the planning department the opportunity to have those workshops and have those meetings in open forums to discuss the possibility of doing something with this. So I will be supporting it, and it's up to a future council and a future mayor probably down the road to take this on. Any other discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll on the resolution as amended.
Councilmember Stichels,
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas,
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan.
No.
Councilmember Brady,
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas,
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio.
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Thank
could
you.
just have clarification on Councilmember Vargas's vote?
Councilmember Vargas, was that a
It was a
yes?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I will pass the gavel back to Council Vice President Favicchio.
Thank you, Councilman Paplaskas. Sorry it took so long for a simple ask, but next we have report of committees. The Public Works Committee. I know Councilman Hopkins is having some difficulty with the audio portion. So
I think I'm the vice chair, Council.
Why don't you do the Public Works Committee while you're at it?
All right, Public Works Committee, we have 9-20-04, ordinance amendment of chapter 12.2 of the Code of City of Cranston, 2005, entitled Street and Sidewalk Use Regulations. Steel plate use sponsored by myself. This was amended in committee and it passed unanimously, and I urge passage.
Motion to
Motion to
approve.
approve. Second.
All right, that, I have nothing to add. It passed unanimously, and just this ordinance matches state law, which we went over in committee. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels,
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas,
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan,
Yes.
Councilmember Brady,
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas,
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio.
Yes. All right, I'll take the gavel again. I guess I'll go to my committees.
It's all yours.
We have the Ordinance Committee, 8-20-03, ordinance and amendment of chapter 15-04.120, Code of the City of Cranston, 2005, Buildings and Construction. Complaints sponsored by Councilman Donegan. This was passed as amended in committee.
Motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
to, and a second, under this, any discussion? Councilman Donegan, did you want to?
No, I have nothing else to add unless anyone has questions.
Council Vice President, if I may,
Yes, Director.
I support the way it's amended. My just questioning, it says, considered and investigated by said department. And then it says such complaints will be investigated by said department. Isn't that kind of duplicitous?
Yeah, it's, I thought that was removed, but I could be wrong. Councilman Donegan, did we take that
That's
out of there? Or?
That's what I thought, because it is, you're right, Director, it's repetitive.
I mean, if we can just clean that up, we support it. If we can just clean that language up.
Do you want to?
I'll make a motion to amend to remove the sentence beginning with such, beginning on line 26 and ending with said department on line 27.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor on the amendment? Clerk, please take the roll on the amendment.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember
I'm
Brady?
here now.
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Vecchio?
Yes.
I think.
Now, on the ordinance as amended.
I think
Councilwoman
Councilwoman Anise is online.
I'm online.
Okay, thank you, council member. Did you hear that amendment?
Yes,
Did you vote? Did you vote on it? That we didn't hear?
I vote for the amendment.
Okay. Now on the motion as amended, I believe we had a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion as amended? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
Yes,
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Vecchio?
Yes. All right. Next, we have 9-20-01, ordinance and amendment of title 10.32, Code of the City of Cranston, 2005, motor vehicle and traffic, removal of no parking on Invernia, sponsored by the mayor. I believe this
Motion to
passes. Motion to approve. Do I have a second? I'll second it for discussion. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
yes,
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Vecchio?
Yes. Next, we have, welcome Councilman Hopkins. You're able to actually speak now on this. 9-20-02, ordinance and amendment of chapter 10.32, Code of the City of Cranston, motor vehicles and traffic, Gray Street at Pond Street stop, sponsored by Councilmember Stichels. I believe this passed in committee. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion. Do I have
Second.
a motion and a second? Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
yes,
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Vecchio?
Yes. Next, we have 9-20-03, ordinance and amendment of chapter 10.32, Code of the City of Cranston, motor vehicles and traffic, Brown and Dunedin, sponsored by Councilmember Donegan. I believe this passed in committee.
Motion to approve.
Motion to
Second.
approve. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
yes,
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Vecchio?
Yes. And last on the ordinance calendar 9-20-09, ordinance and amendment of chapter 10.32, title 10, Code of the City of Cranston, motor vehicles and traffic, Fountain and Puritan, sponsored by Councilman Donegan. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
So move.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas,
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan,
Yes.
Councilmember Brady,
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas,
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio.
Yes. Next, we have the Finance Committee. I'll continue on, I guess. The first item, 5-20-03, I believe that was continued.
Yes.
That was continued to the November meeting. Next was 8-20-02. This was the MBEs, and that was withdrawn. Okay. And next we had 9-20-07. The property tax ordinance and amendment of Title 3.16 Code of the City of Cranston 2005 entitled Property Tax Classification, Change of Tax Value for Commercial Renewable Energy Systems. What did we do? Did we continue that one as well?
Yes,
Motion to continue, yeah.
through the chair. Yeah,
Yes.
8-20-02, 9-20-07, and 9-20-08 were all continued, along with the resolution sponsored by Council President Farina was also continued.
Motion to continue those as a block?
Second.
Motion continuous block. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote on that just to be safe. Look, please take,
Councilmember Stichels?
Point of information.
yes,
Do we need to vote on these? It says it would only be here.
only be
pending-
voted on.
Because
Yeah,
it didn't leave the finance committee. It stayed in the finance committee, getting moved to the next finance committee.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if we vote on it
technically-
here, it'll appear next month.
Well, it's removed from the calendar, basically.
Council rules state that only ordinances that get passed in committee go to full council.
Okay, so these are deleted. These are deleted from the calendar, basically, for tonight,
As a matter of rule, yeah.
as a matter of rule, and then we don't have to vote on them. So if you don't mind, we're withdrawing that second motion.
I withdraw it.
Okay.
Yep, same.
Okay, so now we can go to the resolution authorizing real estate tax abatements this past couple hours ago.
Motion to approve?
So I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio.
Yes. Next, we have the resolution authorizing motor vehicle tax abatements, which we just approved. Entertain a motion.
So moved. Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yeah.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio.
Yes. And then we had the resolution authorizing tangible tax abatements. We approved that for its passage here.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio.
Yes. And we had the tax interest waiver approvals that passed. Bridge passage.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
Yes.
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio.
Yes. That takes care of finance. Under public hearing, Madam Clerk, any comments to be read into the record?
No, I do not have any.
Okay. Let's see. Do we have any, I know we allowed people to speak on individual items. Any members of the public want to speak on any of these items? I think we allowed people to speak as we went along. I don't see anyone that was left out. Okay. We'll close public hearing. Election of city officials. Juvenile Hearing Board, reappointment of Nancy Riley as alternate 1 for term ending December 1, 2021, presented by Councilmember Stichels. Do we need a motion on this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
yes,
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio?
Yes. Next, we have an appointment to the Building Appeal Board, reappointment of Stephen Guglielmo for term ending October 26, 2025, from Councilmember Brady.
Motion to approve.
second,
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
yes,
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio?
Yes. Next, we had Zoning Board of Review, appointment of Tom Barberi as alternate for term to expire October 26, 2021, by Councilman Brady. Entertain a
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
yes,
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio?
Yes. Report of city officers. I don't believe we have any, do we? Okay. Next, under executive communications, I think we have the report on hiring a special counsel. Any questions on that?
Council Vice President, I spoke to
Yes.
Solicitor Rawson today, and he was not able to get you, the council, the document for this meeting. So we will have that this week to you, and if there's any questions, please reach out to me personally on that.
Okay. Thank you, Director Perillo. Director Perillo, you have the next item.
Yes, Deputy Chief Richard Mancini is asking to continue for another additional year of service. He did pass his medical background, and we asked the council to approve his continuation of service.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
yes,
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio?
Yes. Next, under Council President Communications, since I'm acting tonight, I'll just say I did not expect to create a firestorm with a simple resolution. And I certainly did not have any discussions with Mr. Murray, something that I've been looking at for over a year on my own. So just to put the record straight, and I apologize if Mr. Murray was offended by anything, but he had nothing to do with it. Next, council member communications. Councilmember Vargas, you had something?
Yes, I did. Thank you, Chair. So I just had, I think on the council docket, there was it Broad Street Cemetery?
Yes.
Just wanted to ask the administration, if possible, through the chair, what is the last update on the cemetery? I think the last time that I was pretty much given some sort of an update was, actually, let me go back. I think it was maybe over a year ago, right around a year ago, where there was a couple of complaints coming my way from constituents that live around the area and families whose loved ones are laid to rest there. And I had forwarded some pictures over, and at the same time, think that the owner, Mr. Rod, at some point was given some sort of notice because of either the grass and the overgrowth and the fact that there was a lot of unfortunately, a lot of folks where maybe just came into the cemetery and they would dump mattresses and just dump a lot of things into that cemetery where I understand he has very limited control to an extent. But most recently there was like a manhole that's right, I believe it's on the cemetery's property, but it's like literally right on the line of the sidewalk. And I wasn't sure if he ended up going to court. I know COVID hit, but I didn't know if he ended up making it to court, if he did not make it to court, because I believe the building that's very visible right on the Broad Street side was in really, really bad conditions, where I think part of the roof was actually even caving in. At one point, there was wire sticking out. And so I'm really concerned that if, I know it's a cemetery, I know it's private property at that point, there's very, very limited control, I think, of maybe what we can do. And in my conversations with Mr. Russell Dodd was that there is some sort of account or trust or some sort of where unfortunately he has no way of withdrawing those funds and using it as operational expenses, but only the interest that is made out of it. It's really, really disheartening to see a cemetery like that. And at some point, I'm not sure if this is some sort of language that maybe has to be brought up to the state. Is there anything as a city we're able to do? We have two sections of the fence right on Broad Street of where the poles are falling apart. He mentioned to me that it was two cars that actually crashed into that area, of which none of them actually had car insurance, so he couldn't go through. He couldn't go after them. And there has been cleanup. There's been cleanups over the years. I recall the community last year around October did a cleanup as well. And I'm just trying to figure out what's the status on that on the court side, and what are we able to do, I guess is my question.
Chairman?
Yes, Councilman Hopkins.
Do we still have a cemetery commission that could look into that?
Chairman, if I can answer to Councilman Hopkins.
Sure, go right ahead.
Thank you. I reached out, Kenny, I'm sorry, Councilman Hopkins. I reached out to them already. I've been having conversations since last year. I'm not going to get into he said, she said, but apparently from a member that I spoke to, they had reached out, they tried to help. And he was unappreciative. And I don't want to point fingers out, but what I was told when there was a group of young kids who ended up cleaning the cemetery, the commission tried to helping out, and they couldn't get a hold of him. Eventually when they did, it was wintertime. They were told that he was not living in the state at the time. And I'm being told that the actual commission in itself is really been trying themselves, try to figure out what they can do, but they're also very limited. And that's why I'm bringing it to the attention. If there's anything that we can even do on the state side, which I think we're limited as well, if it requires legislation, anything along those lines. I brought it up to the attention of Senator Miller, and he's trying to figure out what we're able to do on that end. But if this gentleman who's the heir, he's the last in line of his family, passes I think I don't know how that works. I'm not an attorney. Don't want to try to be an attorney right now and try to, say I think this is what will happen. But based out of Mr. Rod's response directly to me was that if he dies, it would go to the city. And at that point, I don't know if the city would it come with the account and to be used as operating expenses or not. But for the time being, he's with us right now. And there has been family members who have reached out to me because they're trying to deliver a tombstone and there has been no call. Now we can't tell in a way, I think we have limited powers as to how you can tell an actual business owner how to run their business, but it's just so disheartening. And Councilman Hopkins, if you want to take a walk down over in the cemetery, I'd be happy to do that, with you, or try to even meet the owner or the folks whose families are laid to rest there. But it's really disheartening, and the reason why I'm responding to you regarding the commission in general is because when I spoke to a woman who's on the commission in the city, it was just really a dead end, and the mausoleum doesn't belong to him either. And the grass has gotten cut in the summer, but it gets cut only the first 20 feet where it's no longer visible. So again, I know that the gentleman had gotten cited. I'm not after having somebody get cited, but I'm just trying to make sure we keep people accountable just the same way we keep residents accountable as well.
I'd be more than happy to work on it with you, Councilwoman.
All right.
I am unaware of,
Director Rollo?
I'm unaware of Mr. Dodd's financial situation. I know we did take him to court because of the violations. The inspections department, Anne Marie in particular, has been very active in dealing with the property. We did get a court order in August to go on the property and clean it all up, which we intend on doing very, very shortly between Parks and Recreation and the Highway Department. We are going to go in there and do a massive cleanup of the property per the court order. And the court order also makes him either demolish or reconstruct the structure on the premises that you're speaking of. So the city has a role to clean it up. He has a role to either destroy that structure or refurbish that structure. So that's kind of where we are right now.
Through the chair, if I can, to the director, if possible.
Yes, sure.
Director Perillo, so what happens when the city goes in is, I assume that's a lien, correct? That then takes place after that? How do we get, because it's the city that's going to go in, correct? Is that where I understood?
We're not going to get payment for it. We understand the city's pretty much going to eat that because this gentleman's claiming he has no financial capabilities to upkeep it himself. So leaning the property is not going to really service a purpose. So basically we asked the court for permission to go onto his property and clean it up for him. And that was granted to us by the court.
Okay, thank you for that. I do have another question if possible. There is some sort of an account that he had mentioned. Is there any way at all that we are able to, as a municipal court, ask him the status on that account that he has, that is set where, and I forgot, I'm not sure if it's some sort of trust or specifically type of account that he has, but because he's mentioned that he has an account and he's unable to withdraw only just what it's being made from interest account, is there anything that the city would be able to try to go after those funds to recover?
Truthfully, I'm not 100% sure what the power of the municipal court is regarding diving into the finances like that. I think at this point in our view, it's more of a hazard. So that's why we're going in there to clean it up and take the debris away. We're not really concerned with the repayment. It's basically trying to maintain it, keep it safe, keep the manholes in place, keep the wires where they should be, and maintaining it so no one gets hurt on the property. So that's really our focus as opposed to getting reimbursed for the time and service.
Well, it's definitely a start, and I appreciate it because I remember putting this, I think, on the docket maybe sometime last year. And if there's anything else that we're able to do, again, I'm not trying to go ahead and, you know, in a way, tell the gentleman how to run his business, but it's also unfortunate the way, you know, it is. We have tombstones that were veteran tombstones that are knocked off. I'm not saying it's him. It could be kids and or so forth, or whomever going into the cemetery late at night. There's obviously no gate. So I understand his frustration when he's also letting me know that there's people dumping so many things in there, to the point that when I remember doing a cleanup last year, there were certain things that I had to warn my volunteers as a heads up not to pick up. And the city was generous enough of actually even picking up the stuff from the cleanup and leaves and debris that Monday afterwards. But is there anything we're even able to do as regarding even the fence in itself?
From the city's perspective, I don't think we would invest in buying him a new fence, no. I don't think that's the.
Well, no, not to get fence, but just to, is there anything that he's able to do? Can we tell him? I mean, I guess he has no money, but
Correct.
the half of the fence is up and the other half is down. So, I mean, one could argue that it's not in safe conditions either. So is that something that we would say to him to remove it or not? I mean, if you take a look, I can take pictures and send it over tomorrow.
No, I've seen it. I mean, the only
Yeah.
thing he's ordered to do by the court is to reconstruct or demolish the structure on the premises, and then report back to the court as to how he goes about doing that. So it's pretty vague in the court order, in the consent order. So I'm not sure we can mandate him do much more than what the judge ordered him to do.
All right. So is this coming up as a follow-up afterwards or later on, just so I know, just for record keeping?
Yes, once we clean up the property, we're gonna report back to the court that we've done our share, and we'll probably have to get a court date for him to reappear to see how much progress he's made with the structure.
Okay. So is it fair to say that I can keep this on the next council communications for next month, just to kind of follow up and see where we are, or if it's been?
Sure.
Okay. If, to the clerk, if you don't mind, or chairman, if I may continue to add this, I'll leave it on the council. That'd be appreciated.
No problem. Anything further, Councilmember Vargas?
I think that's the only item that I had under council communications. Thank you so much.
Councilman Brady?
Thank you, Chairman. Just if I could briefly on that last topic, Councilwoman Vargas, Councilman Papalaskis, Mr. Hopkins, and myself in the past didn't have the best experience working with the that committee, the cemetery committee either. We went in and we adopted a couple spots and spent the time cleaning them on myself. So I'm not suggesting that's the answer, but if you do go that avenue and find yourself not getting that far, I'm sure we'd all be willing to help you clean up that area on behalf of the deceased. So I did want to offer that.
Thank you.
Regarding the agenda, my topic is going to be continued to next month that I did put on here, but I was asked by a constituent to ask on the record if Director Perillo got a update on the email that I sent earlier regarding the leak. I assume since it was just dropped on your desk, you might not have one, but I was asked to ask Director.
I will reach out to National Grid tomorrow. I know I forwarded the email to them and hope to have a response by tomorrow.
Thank you, sir. And I appreciate your assistance on the stop sign issue and other issues we had this week. You've been very responsive and I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Councilman Hopkins, I know you've had difficulty getting on, so if you wanted to say anything.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I did. It was recently as yesterday and today, I've had an issue on Pontiac Avenue where I don't know if it's the homeless population or the people that are being let out of Harrington Hall. It's actually a twofold issue. Some of them have been sleeping in an abandoned building, literally right on Pontiac Avenue. I was just sent the pictures this afternoon. That's why I didn't get them to Director Perillo yet. But it looks like people are sleeping there. I went by and checked, and I found a piece of plywood put up, possibly to brace them from some of the cold winds, but also that they're getting in through abandoned windows and they're staying in there. And if you happen to drive by the property, it's pretty nasty where they're leaving all of their debris. I did call Representative Chris Malay. He's aware of the situation, trying to work with on the state level. But I would also ask, if we're going to take a look at this, that we should look at the bus stop where these people are let out. They come out and they're literally right at the apartments on Pontiac Avenue. And I'm wondering if RIPTA could move that to an area where we're not close to our constituents, that bus stop, possibly move it further down where it's more of an industrial area. But I don't think it's an appropriate place for a bus stop, especially knowing the number of sex offenders that are let out of Harrington Hall at night that jump on that bus and then head down into the city. So I'd like to see if we can get RIPTA to move that bus stop as well. But if the administration could, again, through the state, maybe take a look at this. It's becoming an issue more so lately. And I've had complaints from constituents for the last 24 hours about it.
Councilman, is the residence they're occupying state property, or is it a private residence, do you know?
The residence where they're staying is an abandoned former state building. Looks like it was a prison at one point,
Okay.
right on the main road. And the apartments across the street are, I think they're called the Pontiac Apartments, where you take the left at where the charter school is, which would also give me another reason to thank God our kids aren't in school all the time right now, but having that bus stop in that area is kind of raises a red flag for me.
So I'll follow up tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you, Director. Appreciate it.
Anything else, Councilman Hopkins?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilman Paplaskas.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. This is the first main council meeting since the passing of former Council President John Lanny. I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge everything he did for the city, not only as a citywide councilman, but the 5th Ward councilman. And he'll certainly be missed, and he definitely left his mark on the council and the city. And I just wanted to take a moment to express deepest sympathies to the family and to he'll be missed, and he did a lot of work for the city, and we thank him for that.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I did attend the brief ceremony that they had at the church for John Lanny, and I served with him for Councilman Stichels and I served with him for about 8 years, 8 of our 10 years, I believe, with Councilman Lanny, and he was always a gentleman and did a fine job and really spent a lot of his time working for the city. So my condolences as well to the family. Anyone else from the council have any other concerns? I don't see any other hands. There being no further business for the council, the next full council meeting will be.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
we have new business.
I'm sorry. I forgot to do the new business. I'll entertain a motion to send any new business to the appropriate committee.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Stichels?
Yes.
Councilmember Hopkins?
Yes.
Councilmember Vargas?
Yes.
Councilmember Jermaine?
yes,
Councilmember Donegan?
Yes.
Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Paplaskas?
Yes.
Council Vice President Favicchio?
Yes. Madam Clerk, any miscellaneous business on your desk?
There is not.
The next regular meeting of the City Council will be held November 23, 2020, and I believe we'll be back at 6:30 on that one, Madam Clerk.
Yes.
Okay.
Chairman,
Yes.
just,
Councilman-
is there a chance that we can get back into chambers? I'd like to bring that up for discussion.
Yeah, I've been asking the administration and asking the school committee how they're doing it, because they've been doing it. I'm not sure if it's at the library or
Yes, they've been in the Cranston East Library.
they've been in the East Library, and they've been doing only Zoom for the public. I believe that's the way they've been doing it, Director Perillo. So if, if you want to just take one last look at that and see if there's any way we could make use of their technology. I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing something to accommodate both in-person and the public comment.
Okay, so you want to see if we can do it in the same library that they're in, East Library?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think that, because we have we may have a lengthy ordinance hearing next month as well with, and I can already see some issues with documents and charts and things of that nature that might be very difficult online. I know we received a 239-page traffic study on something. So I don't know how we're going to deal with a lot of this stuff. But if you want to just take a look at that and let us know.
I know my conversation with the superintendent and Ed, they were not interested in having any public in for the meeting. So it would be probably just the council itself with no public. And then we would have to, I guess, do what they're doing, somehow link up the Zoom to an audio component where you guys could hear the questions and then they could hear the questions and responses from you. So that's the technical part of it I'm not aware of.
Okay. Who's speaking? Someone, any other members of the council have any questions or comments? All right.
I guess.
Chairman, I would like to acknowledge that I received the link that was for attendees, so that's why I couldn't get in. So anytime it just gives me the status of attendees.
Yes. No, we were aware that you and Councilman Hopkins were listening in on the meeting. I apologize for the difficulty. And we just discussed trying to maybe do the next couple of meetings in person so that at least the council could be sharing space and have the public come in as they are tonight on Zoom or telephonically. So, okay. Anything, Councilmember Jermaine, anything else you wanted to add to the meeting now that you're able to speak?
Yes, I have a couple of complaints. I would think about the resolution in ordinance mostly. It's about traffic and complaint about speeding in our ward. So I'm planning to submit some ordinance to address those issues.
Thank you. That would be great. All right. Any further business before this council? I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed?
Thank you, Chairman. Good job.
Thank you. We are adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, Mr. President.